looks like we have a quorum.
You do have a quorum?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hey, Latasha, I think your camera is turned 90 degrees. There you go.
It was down. I had to pop it up.
Sorry. I just want everybody to look sideways when they look at me.
We do have a quorum.
According to who's on, we have a quorum.
Okay. Then I will begin the meeting in approximately 1 minute. All right. Good afternoon and welcome to the May 10th regular meeting of the Community Development Commission of Chicago. I am Shirley Newsom, the Vice Chair of the CDC and the host of today's virtual meeting, as our Chairwoman Butler was not available to attend today's meeting. I will be assisted by our Commission Secretary, Chris Wheat, and Kamal, our tech support. On April 29th, 2022, Governor Pritzker renewed his executive order proclaiming that all counties in the state of Illinois are in a disaster area. Section 7 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act allows the CDC, along with other city boards and commissions, to host virtual meetings during this COVID-19 public health emergency, provided that certain conditions are met. One of those conditions is that the chair of this commission determines that an in-person meeting on the scheduled meeting date would not be practical or prudent. To ensure that today's virtual meeting meets all conditions of the Open Meetings Act, I am hereby making the determination in consultation with Chairwoman Gwendolyn Butler and pursuant to Section 7E2 of the Act, that due to the COVID-19 public health emergency, an in-person meeting would not have been practical or prudent today. Therefore, in accordance with the Commission's emergency rules, this meeting is being held virtually on Zoom and can be viewed live via the Commission's website. A court reporter is present today to record the proceedings. Commissioners, you have all been designated as panelists, which means that you will be able to control your microphone. Please remember to place your microphone on mute unless you wish to speak. If you want to be recognized by the chair, please activate the raise your hand feature and you will be called in order. Secretary Wheat will note such order. The agenda for today's meeting was posted on May the 5th, both online and at the CDC's website and physically in City Hall. I will now begin the meeting with a call of the roll. Commissioners, when your name is called, please turn your microphone on, respond by saying present, and please also indicate that you can hear me okay. Secretary Wheat.
President, and I can hear you.
Commissioner Brooks. Commissioner Buford.
Present, and I can hear you.
Commissioner Cepeda. Commissioner Chan McKibben. Commissioner Cox.
Present, and I can see and hear you.
Thank you. Commissioner Curtis.
Present, and I can hear you.
Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Gomez. Commissioner Griggs. Commissioner Rhodes.
I'm here. I can hear you.
Commissioner Thomas.
Present, and I can hear you.
Commissioner Trevino. Vice Chair Newsom is present. Chairwoman Butler is absent for the record. We have a quorum for the purpose of conducting business. The first item on our agenda, request approval of the minutes from our previous meeting held on April the 5th, 2022. The commissioners have had an opportunity to review said minutes, and if there are no corrections, I am looking for a motion to approve. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Seconded by Commissioner Cox.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, all votes are to be conducted by roll call so that each member's vote on each issue can be identified and recorded. Commissioners, if you were not in attendance during the April 5th meeting, please abstain from this vote. Secretary Wheat.
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks. Commissioner Buford.
Yes.
Commissioner Cepeda. Commissioner Chan McKibben. Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis.
Abstain.
Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Gomez. Commissioner Griggs. Commissioner Rhodes.
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Trevino. Vice Chair Newsom votes yes. Commissioner Butler abstains. The motion passes. The public was given an opportunity to provide written comments up to 24 hours prior to the start of this meeting through the CDC email address, cdc@cityofchicago.org. There were no written comments in the CDC mailbox for today's meeting. The CDC's emergency rules allow for members of the public wishing to comment on an agenda item to do so by registering in advance at the CDC's mailbox up to 24 hours before the start of today's meeting. There were no individuals who signed up in advance to speak at today's meeting. However, following each of today's staff presentations, the chair may call upon members of the public who have used the raise your hand feature to be recognized by the chair. Due to the capacity limitations of the available technology, a limit of 10 members of the public may be called upon by the chair to speak on each agenda item, limited to 3 minutes per agenda item. Do we have anyone signed up to speak at today's meeting on either agenda item?
Chairwoman, I had 2 hands raised, but they
Come on.
lowered them. Michael Wachter, he has his hand raised.
I cannot hear you, sir.
Michael Wachter has his hand raised, one speaker.
Okay, Michael Reichner.
Yes, I submitted an application to speak on behalf of the Dunk House when that agenda item is gone over.
Okay.
I submitted the request several days ago. Hopefully it was received.
Sir, you'll have to speak louder so that I can hear you.
I said I submitted the request several days ago to speak on behalf of the Dunk House.
Okay. And
If-
I will
if-
ask
If we want to do this,
I will
with-
ask that
with
you
Beth's
hold your
presentation.
remarks until such time as that agenda item is put forth, sir. Thank you for being here. For our first item of new business, the city's Department of Transportation is requesting authority to acquire all or portions of multiple properties, all located in the Greater Southwest Industrial East Tiff, in order to make necessary traffic improvements in the area. The properties are described as follows: 2750 West Columbus Avenue, the Belt Railway Company right-of-way between Rockwell Street and Columbus Avenue, the non-dedicated alley south of 7229 South Rockwell Street, the non-dedicated alley south of 7448 South Maplewood Avenue, 2516 and 2443 West Columbus Avenue, 2442 West Columbus Avenue, 7400 Southwestern Avenue, 7410 Southwestern, and 7502 Southwestern Avenue. Solomon Kadira from the city's Department of Transportation will provide the staff report on behalf of CDOT. Mr. Kadira, you may begin your presentation if you are ready.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and thank you, Commissioner. Again, my name is Solomon Kudera. I am with the Chicago Department of Transportation, Section Chief with Major Projects, and I will share my screen. Okay, I'm assuming you see my screen.
Yes.
Great, thank you. So the project I am presenting is the Columbus Avenue and Belt Railway of Chicago, a grade separation project. The limit of the project is from Kedzie to Western, and we are requesting right-of-way acquisition authority. The project location is the red line is shown as Columbus Avenue. The eastern limit of the project is Western Avenue, and the western limit is Kedzie Avenue. As you can see, the red line is Columbus. Columbus Avenue intersects Belt Railway of Chicago at this location, and this crossing is at grade. So when the train passes by, all the vehicles have to stop, gates are lowered, of course, and there are multiple trains that passes this at the grade crossing, creating safety issues, inconvenience, environmental issues. So the scope of this project is to create a grade separation, which will happen by lowering the road, lowering Columbus Avenue under the railways. There are two community areas that within the project footprint. The first one is the Chicago Lawn, and that's this part of the project is within this community area, and the other one is Ashburn, and the rest of the project is within this community area. Tax districts, there's one tax Tiff district within the project limit, or the project limit is actually within this Tiff district, and that's the Greater Southwest Industrial East. The project is not funded by Tiff or by city fund, as I will show. It's funded by federal and state funds. Project needs there are 11,500 vehicles daily passes Columbus Avenue, and there are 60 trains that also intersect Columbus. When the train passes, as I mentioned, the traffic stops, and I have taken this intersection when I go to visit the project, and sometimes the train is as long, it takes about 20 minutes or so, and there are 60 of them, so it's not a functional at grade crossing. The other need for the project is safety. Anytime you have at grade crossing, pedestrian, bicyclist, the cars crossing the intersection, there are crashes since 1956. This intersection has 45 crashes, which is quite high. The intersection also is designated as a 911 critical crossing, where emergency vehicles are interrupted by the trains, and they have to reroute, and that takes longer time and not efficient. And part of the project is to improve pedestrian and bicyclist access. A proposed improvement. The way we will accomplish this, the goal of the project is the railroad will remain at the same elevation as shown here. We'll be building a bridge for the railroad, so that's a schematic of the bridge. And then Columbus Avenue will be lowered, as you see, under the railroad. So vehicles, all the vehicle traffic will be flowing under the newly constructed bridge. And this one is a cross-section of the constructed bridge, rendering of the constructed bridge for the rail. Vehicles will be passing safely under the bridge. We'll be creating also bicycle lanes, one in each direction. And also pedestrians will be safely able to cross under the bridge on a path by themselves. The yellow area that shows the rendering or sketches of the bridge that will be constructing. The Columbus is along this alignment, and Columbus will be lowered starting at this location. So Columbus will go down, go under this bridge, and start rising up. And at this location, it will be at the same elevation as it is today. Two of the streets will have to be cul-de-sac because of lowering the road. So that's Maplewood Avenue will be a cul-de-sac, and Campbell Avenue will be also a cul-de-sac. Part of the project also, we are improving Western Avenue intersection with 74th Street and also with the Columbus. Trucks have hard time making this type of right turn, and part of the project is to improve the turning movement and also remove and replace this existing traffic signal and modernize it to make it more friendly for vehicles, trucks, pedestrians, users. Outside the grade separation area, it's the normal roadway that we will continue the bicycle path and the pedestrian sidewalk on one side of the street. Since we are lowering the roadway, lowering Columbus under the rail, as shown here, this is the rail and Columbus is under, we will have to build a small pump station on the side of the road. That's the location of the pump station. And this is a rendering of the pump station. It's a small structure on the side of the road, and that's only for storm sewer, not for sanitary sewer. Because the road is lowered, we have to pump the water into the side, and then ultimately it goes into the city sewer. Project funding is next. Funding is, as I mentioned, there is no city fund, there is no Tiff fund. We are funded by a grant from the National Highway Freight Program. We also using funds from Rebuild Illinois, and there is a match from the state, which is around $17 million. So the total construction cost of $86 million are all funded by state and federal, no city funds. Properties to be acquired. We don't have any building demolition on this project. We don't have any relocation of businesses or residents. This project does not require any properties that has buildings or businesses. There are three types of property acquisition that will be taken. It's a standard for all of our projects. The first one is partial property take, where we are taking only part of the land adjacent to the project that's needed to construct the project. The other type, as I will show in the next slide, the other type is a TE, that's temporary easement. And those are lots that we temporarily acquire to be able to do construction. And then at the end of the construction, we return it back to the current owner at its current condition. So we restore it and turn it back to the owner. So hence the name is temporary. We need it only on a temporary basis to be able to do the construction. And the last one, the last type is PE, that's permanent easement. It's mostly needed to build a utility and stays under the property owner land. So we designate this as a PE, as I will show some of those. I'll show all of them in the next slides. So either a partial take, a TE, or a PE. Now this is a list of all those 9 items that we will need to acquire. And the details of all of those are shown pictorially in the next slides. So we took this table and we converted it into a plan view. So here are the items here do correspond to those items in the previous slide. So the legend is the purple color, which is this color, is a property that we need to acquire, part of the property that we will need to acquire. So it's a take. The green areas are temporary easement. Those are the one I mentioned. We need it only temporarily during construction. And in the next slides, you will see this color, which is amber color. Those are permanent easement. We are not acquiring the property, but we do need an easement from the owner. So on this slide, you will see that part of this property, we will need to acquire this part. That's the purple color, a take, purchase. The green is temporary. That's from Norfolk Southern Yard. We need this to do our construction on a temporary basis. The next slide shows the rest of this property that we will need to acquire to build the pump station at this triangle right there. And that's a road that we will need to have access to the pump station. So this is partial take from this adjacent property. Again, this is green, temporary easement from Norfolk Southern. The next slide shows again the same. The green is temporary easement from Norfolk Southern, from Belt Railway of Chicago. This is also temporary easement from Belt Railway of Chicago. Those are the 2 alleys that we will need to straighten the ownership of the city versus BRC. So it's an even exchange. We're just straightening the record. This one shows the PE, that's a permanent easement, and this one is needed for us to install a sewer line under the rail. So hence we need a permanent easement from the railroad. I think that's it for this side. Okay, sorry, this one here is a permanent easement for us from the railroad to be able to install the walls that we will be installing on both sides of the street. So the amber is a permanent easement. And I think this is the last slide. Again, green is temporary easement. We need temporary, and temporary. This one is we need on a permanent basis, and we make it larger. This is a triangle where Columbus meets Western Avenue. And we need this triangle from the owner to purchase this triangle, so we are able to provide a better turning movement for vehicles, for trucks. They are having hard time making this movement. So that's needed also to improve the traffic signal operation. But mainly this triangle is to make a better, for the trucks to make better turning movement from Columbus into southbound Western. The schedule of the project. We completed phase 1 preliminary engineering. We are currently in phase 2 engineering, that's final engineering. And in this phase is where we acquire the properties. And this phase of engineering is scheduled to be completed by end of this year, by Q3 2022. And then we'll advertise the project for public bidding. The construction is scheduled to start in early 2023. And will be about 2 years construction, 2023 and 2024. But that's my last slide. Thank you all for listening.
Madam Chair, I think you're on mute.
I'm sorry, is Alderman Derek Curtis or a representative of his office on the line? No? If not, commissioners, do you have any questions for CDOT with regard to this project? Do I see Commissioner Buford?
Yeah, my question goes back to the source of funds. The to be determined, is there any more light you can shed on the to be determined 22 million?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. We don't have all the construction fund program, but we designated it at this point to be determined. We have to look, CDOT looks at the overall programmed other projects and prioritize the project. And we do have limited amount from IDOT's funding. So it will be determined from either federal or state program, but it's not going to be city funds.
Does that answer your question, Commissioner Buford?
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how that develops over time though.
Okay.
Okay.
Are there questions of other commissioners with regard to this project? Commissioner
Madam Chair,
Rhodes? I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm just wondering what the reaction of there's some individuals that own the land. Have you already had conversations with them? Are they resistant to this? Are they happy about it? What's happening with the land acquisition from private individuals?
Thank you, Commissioner. There is no opposition. We have coordinated with them during phase 1 design. We are currently coordinating with them, so there is no opposition to purchasing that part of the land, or a T or a P. No opposition.
I believe Commissioner Curtis has raised his hand.
Yes, I was wondering, can you show the slide again that had the table of the land that will be required? It was in a table. I didn't see it in our packet. Number 18, I believe. So we've got the railway, a church, and can you tell me what how that affects that church?
Sure. This table is converted into here, and the church is on the west side of Columbus. We will need to acquire this piece of land from them to build the roadway and the pump station. So that's part of the church property. And then on the next slide, which is this one, this triangle is to build the pump station, and this is a road. It's a parking lot. We have been talking to the church, and they're receptive to that.
Okay, there is nothing to the structure of the church, that type of thing.
No, there is no. The structure is far. Let me just go back. The church structure is. So the one I just showed is this is the strip of land that we will need from the church, and the church structure is.
Thank you. And I'm sorry. Can we look at the table one more time?
Sure.
And was there? Okay, I think that's it. The rest of it looked to be primarily railroad property.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions of commissioners?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Wheat with a question.
Okay, thank you.
Question for staff. So if construction, the schedule suggests that construction will start in Q1, which is 7 months away, but you have a $22.5 million hole in the project. So although I appreciate your comments with respect to potential sources of funding, can the department provide an assessment or best assumption regarding the ability to fill that hole in the next 9 months? Or would the department begin construction prior to finding funds, prior to filling the hole for that fund?
We cannot start construction until this shortfall is allocated because we don't advertise the project until that fund is identified. And as this is just a hole on the budget, but we could shift funding from other projects. It depends on the priority. This is a priority project because we have funding from the federal funding. I showed the slide before. Okay, here it is. This federal fund that we have, and with the state match 17 million, that's the it has a strict deadlines that we, the city CDOT, will have to allocate this funding. And if you are asking me where does it come from, it comes from prioritizing projects within CDOT budget. So within the next month or so, before we advertise the priority, this project will become a priority. So some funding will be shifted into this project from other projects to fill this gap. That's it. It's a, I don't want to call it a standard practice that we do, but because this project is a priority, because it has federal funding, this will be allocated. The question is, well, which project is coming? So within a month or so, we will have this allocated. But we do not.
And one follow on.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I apologize. I understand that you will not advertise till the funds are secure. I guess, and then a follow-on question: is there an expiration associated with any of the already identified sources of funds?
Can you say, is there what allocated?
Is there any expiration in terms of the necessity for CDOT to use funds for any of these sources?
I think I heard you saying, is there escalation? Is that right?
No, does the money go away if we don't spend it by a certain time?
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, thank you. This federal fund, yes, if this federal fund that has a strict deadline that we have to meet, and if we do not spend the funding, then it goes away. Hence the priority of this project to find this 22.5 million from CDOT budget. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, Commissioner Thomas, you want to chime in?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know I had my speaker on, but I'm looking at the sources. I don't think the question was answered.
I sorry about that. I had having a hard time hearing you. So can you just one more time say it if you don't mind?
Okay, so let's say it this way. The NHFP funds, will they expire soon, or when will they expire?
Yes, we have a strict deadline for this fund, which is that fund has to be obligated by September this year. And
what about the RBLD fund?
That doesn't have expiration date, but the NHFP does have expiration date, which means that the fund has to be obligated by September 30th for their fiscal year. And to answer your question, Commissioner, if we don't move and on this fund, yes, it goes away, or we have to reapply again to the same fund, but we cannot let that happen. We are gearing up, prioritizing the project, giving a priority to the design.
Let me ask you another question.
Yes.
What about the state-only Chicago Commitment Fund? Does that have an expiration date?
No, that's just a match from our program, from CDOT program.
Okay.
The only one
So
that
the big issue is if you don't find, you said obligate, not spend. The NHFP has to be obligated, not spent by September of this year, right?
that's correct. Yes.
Okay. So, thank you, Commissioner Wheat, for letting me jump in on your question.
Does that answer the question
very
from
much.
both of you?
Yes, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Thomas?
Okay, my question is related to automatic support. I didn't see it and no one's here from the Alderman's office.
Mhm.
Do you have automatic support that you can show us?
Commissioner, we don't have a letter from the alderman, but we coordinated with the alderman. We presented early on to the alderman office. We have held community advisory group, 4 community advisory group meetings, and the alderman office were in attendance and were supportive. And we also held a public information meeting, and the alderman also was in attendance. So the alderman is in support, but we don't have a letter from him.
The church was also in attendance, or folks representing the church were in attendance?
They are the stakeholders that we held the meeting with, the community advisory group, the church was there. And right now our legal team is talking to the church. So they are in support of us, CDOT, acquiring that part of their parking lot. There is no opposition to the project. The community realized the importance of the project. It is not safe. It is not functional. It's a grade crossing. So it will alleviate all those safety issues and the delay, and there's no bicycle lanes in Columbus. So we have not heard any opposition to the project from the community.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you for your answer.
Thank you.
Are there any additional questions on the part of commissioners? If not, then I will call upon members of the public who have used or will use the raise your hand feature to be recognized by the chair. And we remind each person called upon to speak by the chair that they are limited to 3 minutes on this agenda item. Do we have any hands raised from the public? Come on.
There are no hand raised, Chairman.
Okay. Secretary Wheat, you see no hands raised?
I'm seeing none, Madam Chair.
Okay. If there are no further questions or comments from the commissioners, I will call this item to a vote. The resolution before us recommends to the City Council of the City of Chicago the approval of CDOT's request for acquisition authority of multiple properties needed for traffic improvements to be granted. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Commissioner Curtis.
Thank you, Commissioner Curtis. Is there a second?
Second, Commissioner Rhodes.
Thank you, Commissioner Rose. I will now call the roll. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, all votes are to be conducted by roll call so that each member's vote on each issue can be identified and recorded. Please signify your vote of approval of the motion by saying yes, no, or abstain. Secretary Wheat,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks, Commissioner Buford,
Yes.
Commissioner Cepeda, Commissioner Chan McKibben, Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis, Commissioner Gomez,
Yes.
yes? Commissioner Gomez,
Yes.
okay. Commissioner Griggs? Commissioner Rhodes,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Trevino. Vice Chair Newsom votes yes. Chairwoman Butler abstains. The vote is in favor and the motion passes. Thank you. Okay. For our second item of new business, the Department of Planning and Development is requesting authority to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with Dank House for redevelopment of the property at 4740 Northwestern Avenue, located in the Western Avenue North Tiff redevelopment project area, and to recommend to the City Council of the City of Chicago the designation of Dank House as the developer. Beth McGuire will present the staff report on behalf of the Department of Planning. Beth, you may begin your presentation when you are ready.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, commissioners. For the record, my name is Beth McGuire, project manager for the Department of Planning and Development. I'm here today to request the approval of Dank House as the developer for the project at 4740 Northwestern Avenue. With me today is Monica Jarak, Executive Director of Dank House, and Matthew Hopp, Business Affairs Director of Dank House. Sorry, it's not forwarding. There we go. The project is located at 4740 Northwestern Avenue in the Lincoln Square community area in the 40th Ward. This is in the Western Avenue North Tiff. Dank House is a German-American cultural center located in the Lincoln Square community. The acronym Dank stands for the original German name, Deutsch Amerikanischer National Congress, which means the German-American National Congress, and was created in 1959 as a lobbying organization. Though over the years, their focus has shifted to German culture. Their mission is to preserve and promote German culture, heritage, and language, and to organize educational and social programming focusing on the history, traditions, and contributions of Germans and German Americans. As you can see, this is the exterior view that you would see from Western Avenue. The vision is to meaningfully engage all those interested to explore the vibrant German American culture. On average, Dank House welcomes over 40 student groups and senior tour groups every year. In addition, in the fall of 2020, they opened up a full-time kindergarten and preschool program. They also host a genealogy center, German language classes, and different events to promote German heritage. The project at hand involves the rehabbing of the restroom facilities and associated building system improvements, as well as the restructuring of the front entryway. All of these improvements will allow any patrons with mobility issues to more fully access the center and all of the programming and events hosted there. As the building is 95 years old, a building assessment was performed. Various projects needed to stabilize the building and its infrastructure were identified. Dank House has completed some of these projects over the last few years, but an overhaul of the restrooms and front entrance still must be completed. These improvements will allow the facilities to be compliant with ADA requirements and increase access for patrons with mobility issues. As you can see from this map, Dank House is located near the intersection of Western, Lawrence, and Lincoln Avenues, right here in the yellow, and it's right by the Western Avenue Brown Line station. Dank House partners with local schools and community groups to host events and provide cultural programming. Here's an aerial view showing Dank House building is an important anchor in the Western Avenue streetscape. It's taller and older than many of the surrounding buildings and stands out. This picture shows a gathering space where community programs and events are held. Note the architectural detailing. Event spaces such as this can be used for parties, banquets, and fundraisers. The total project cost will be $2.3 million, including hard and soft costs. Donk plans to fund this with $756,000 in lender financing, $806,000 in a TIF grant, and a $756,000 TIF loan. The TIF loan will be issued upon the redevelopment agreement closing. The loan will accrue interest at 2% a year, and the loan will mature December 31st, 2028. The cash payment of $806,000 will be made upon the issuance of the certificate of completion after the project has been completed. These funds will be bridged by lender financing. This project will be beneficial to the community and to the city as a whole. An older building will be preserved to continue serving the community for another 100 years. The beloved community asset will be able to expand their programming, and they will be able to reach a wider audience. Please note that Alderman Vasquez was unable to attend the hearing today, but he is supportive and his office did submit a support letter. This concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time. And Ms. Jarek and Mr. Hopp are also here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Commissioners, do you have questions for city staff or for the applicant? Do we have any hands raised? Commissioner Curtis.
Yes, the Dunk House, I'm not familiar with it. Is this a public facility? Could I make a reservation and use the facility? Who has access to it?
Commissioner, again, Beth McGuire for the record. So Donk House is a nonprofit and it's not a membership-driven organization. Tuition and rental fees are charged for people wishing to partake of the building and the services. And if you need more detail, I'm sure Monica and Matt can answer some of the questions in more detail if you need.
And are there any restrictions on the ownership of Dunk House or the transition of ownership on Dunk House?
You mean restrictions?
Can they sell the building, for example?
Oh, no, there will be a compliance period and they will have to continue operating as a nonprofit community cultural center.
Thank you.
Are there any additional questions by commissioners? Seeing none, the chair will now call upon members of the public who are interested in asking a question or making a statement. Please be reminded that you have 3 minutes to speak. Representative of Dank House or anyone else?
Chairman, I'm promoting one person, which was representative, and then we have Michael Weichter who wishes to speak.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Weckner, I believe you've been waiting to speak.
Yeah, I just, first of all, sorry about the tough German name. That's what we're trying to overcome at Donk House. It's the last name is Wachter.
Wachter. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I wanted to speak just as a community member, as a parent, as a business owner in Lincoln Square, and as an executive board member at the Donk House. We welcome all kinds of people from all kinds of areas into the Donk House, but the experience that I had that brought me in there was my kids' schools. A lot of CPS schools use the Donk House facilities for fundraisers, get-togethers, and all kinds of things. In addition to CPS, we have other community groups that use it for fundraisers and other types of community events. I just wanted to point that out. There's a lot of work that we've done individually to upgrade the building, and getting over this hurdle will be one of the last and the biggest things that allow us to bring this building into the 21st century and fully let us open it up to the community. That's all.
Thank you. Kamal, we had one other hand raised.
No, Chairman, that was a representative which I promoted as panelist.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I believe, was it Monica Durack?
Yes. Good afternoon, Chicago Community Development Commission. My name is Monica Urak. I'm the executive director of the Donk House. The Donk House has been an anchor in the Lincoln Square community since 1959, and we continue to make significant efforts to preserve and share German culture and community with visitors from Chicago, the greater Midwest, and around the world. Our house is open to all ages and backgrounds, and our center includes a language school, a museum, an art gallery, and a library. Some of our regular programs include a monthly open house, movie screenings, cooking classes, as well as concerts, plays, and performances. We are also a fundraising and meeting venue for 40 area schools, cultural organizations, and other nonprofit community organizations, whereby we help subsidize these events and have given more than $250,000 back to the community. As a landlord of a 95-year-old building, there also comes a lot of deferred maintenance challenges. We are always looking for ways to improve and address accessibility throughout the building. If these funding requests are successful, it would better equip our ability to serve the 14,000 plus diverse visitors who rely on our center for wellness programs, education, and a sense of community. New capital improvements to the Donk House would make these services accessible to an even wider audience. I want to thank you for your consideration in allowing us to be a true community cultural center.
Thank you. Commissioner Curtis, have all of your questions been answered?
Yes, thank you.
All right, then. At this point, I'd like to call this item for a vote. The resolution before us requests authority for the Department of Planning and Development to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with Donk House for the redevelopment of property located at 4740 Northwestern Avenue in the Western Avenue North Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, and to recommend to the City Council of the City of Chicago the designation of Donk House as the developer. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Curtis.
Thank you, Commissioner Curtis. Second by Commissioner Thomas, was it?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. All right. At this time, as required, I will call the roll on this item. Vice Chair Newsom votes yes. Secretary Wheat.
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks. Commissioner Buford.
Yes.
Commissioner Cepeda. Commissioner Chan McKibben. Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Gomez.
Yes.
Commissioner Griggs. Commissioner Rhodes.
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Trevino. Commissioner Butler abstains and the vote is in favor. The motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. Have a good afternoon.
All righty. The third item of business, new business for the Department of Planning and Development. For our third item of new business, the Department of Planning and Development is requesting authority to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with Timeline Theater Company for redevelopment of the property located at 5033 to 35 North Broadway Avenue in the Lawrence Broadway Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, and to recommend to the City Council of the City of Chicago the designation of Timeline Theater Company as developer. Mr. Aaron Dorsey will present the staff report on behalf of the Department of Planning and Development. And Aaron, you may begin your presentation when you're ready.
Vice Chair Newsom.
Mhm.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Newsom and members of the commission.
Yeah.
For the record, my name is Aaron Dorsey, Financial Planning Analyst with the Department of Planning and Development. With me today, I have Terrence Johnson and Tim Jeffries from DPD and representatives from the development team. They are here to answer any questions you may have. Resolution before you requests a recommendation to the City Council for the designation of Timeline Theater Company as the developer for the Timeline Theater project, and the authority for the Department of Planning and Development to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with the developer. The proposed project is located in the Uptown Community Area, the 48th Ward, in the Lawrence and Broadway TIF District. Project is located just north of the intersection of Broadway Avenue and Argyle Street and north of the Argyle CTA station. This slide shows a closer view of the site of the project. The site is currently occupied by a vacant warehouse. The building is a former W.C. Reeby and Brother warehouse built in the 1910s. The developer has already purchased the property. The developer will redevelop the building into the new home of the Timeline Theater. The new building will feature a 250-seat multi-level performance stage and related areas such as rehearsal spaces, gallery and exhibit space, and a community room. The project is expected to start construction in December of 2023 and complete construction in the third quarter of 2024. Development is expected to retain 12 permanent and 14 part-time jobs, as well as create 200 construction jobs. This slide shows a site plan of the theater upon completion. This slide shows a sample floor plan of the theater, including the main theater. And this is an exterior rendering of the theater upon completion. Timeline Theater Company is a non-for-profit theater company created in 1997. It has presented multiple productions throughout its 24 seasons, including multiple Chicago and world premieres. Timeline Theater currently resides in the Lakeview neighborhood, where it operates out of the Wellington Avenue United Church of Christ. Teams retained Bully and Andrews as the general contractor for the project, who has worked on other theater spaces such as the Lyric Opera and Chicago Shakespeare Theater. The team has also retained Johnson Research Group as the Tiff consultant and is working with Capital A Consulting to pursue new market tax credits. The total project cost is estimated to be about $37.6 million. In addition to a combination of fundraising, state grants, and a total of $10 billion in TIF funding, the developer intends to pursue new market tax credits to fund the project. The city intends to provide the developer with TIF assistance in an amount not to exceed $10 million, or 26.6% of the total project cost. The city funds would be provided from the Lawrence Broadway TIF District's area-wide increment and provided to the developer in 2 payments. The first payment of $5 million will be paid once the project is complete and the city issues the project a certificate of completion, and the second payment of $5 million will be paid on the anniversary of the certificate of completion. The project will have ongoing operations and occupancy covenants that ensure the developer will continuously operate the project in the manner agreed upon with the City of Chicago and ensure an average of 100 performances will be held per year at the theater. This covenant will be aspirational for the first year, following certificate of completion, and will be a requirement for the following years. Additionally, the RDA will include restrictions on the sale of the project. This project will allow the following benefits to be realized. The project will renovate a long vacant building and bring a new theater amenity to the neighborhood. The project is additive to the goals and objectives of the Uptown Square District, which is home to other theaters such as the Uptown Theater and Riviera Theater. And the project will also allow for increased educational opportunities for students and the expansion of Timeline's current programming with Chicago Public Schools. DPD has thoroughly reviewed the proposed project, the qualifications of the development team, the financial structure of the project, and the project's conformance with the redevelopment area plans. And DPD recommends that the CDC recommend to the City Council the designation of Timeline Theater Company as the developer for the Timeline Theater project. DPD also requests that the Commission provide DPD with the authority to negotiate, execute, and deliver on the city's behalf a redevelopment agreement with Timeline Theater Company for the project. Alderman Osterman was briefed on the project, and I believe he is in attendance to speak on his opinion.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Alderman Osman, you've been on the line for quite a while. The floor is yours.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I'm multitasking. I apologize. Let me say that our community is overjoyed. The timeline is coming to our neighborhood. It is in the shadows of Argyle Street, which is a Asian American small business area. We have a brand new CTA station. Timelines and a rich history of the arts. This is, we call this the northern boundary of the arts, the Uptown Entertainment District. Timeline coming to this location is going to be really just a huge asset for the Uptown area. And a lot of opportunities for partnerships with schools like the Gowdy School. So I support the ask for Tiff funding for this project, and could not be in more support, 100% supportive, and very excited what I would ask the commissioner's support of this request.
Thank you, Alderman. Commissioners, do you have any questions with regard to this project? I see one hand, Eileen Rhodes, Commissioner.
Aaron, can you elaborate? You said that there are operational goals for the theater after the first year. Can you give kind of an example of what that entails and what happens if market conditions intercede to make it impossible? I'm just wondering how you operationalize that kind of standard for something like a theater.
So the operation covenant is the 100 performances per year, and in the sense of there being 100 performances per year, and in the sense of there being market conditions that may make that difficult, it's actually expanded that if in any year they don't reach 100 performances per year, it's then expanded to a 3-year period in which we're just making sure that on average over the 3-year period they've reached 100 performances. So if the market is to downturn in 1 year and the next year they're able to make it up and have additional funding or additional shows, then it's just a balance over the 3-year period.
And then how do they report on that? Is there some type of standardized operations report that they send to the city, or how does that work?
Yes, as part of our annual compliance report, they're reporting on a number of items, one being the number of performances, 2 being any job creation or making sure anything in terms of employment. But yeah, all of that is wrapped up in the annual compliance report.
Okay, and then final question, what's the MBEWB participation or at least neighborhood representation in the construction?
So as with any TIF project, they're mandated to the 26 and 6% MBEWB. And I believe timeline staff is on call to be able to give any more detail in terms of that.
21 to 23.
So do Bully and Andrews have to give you that information now, or is that later when the RDA is written, or when does that happen?
So soon after, they will go into a construction compliance meeting with our construction compliance team, in which I think at that point, if they have the subcontractors listed out at that point, it's bringing them all to the table and making sure that they're aware of the compliance guidelines. And to the extent that they don't have them yet, then it's just as we get closer to the RDA stage.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Shirley.
Okay, any additional questions? I see Commissioner Curtis' hand is raised.
Yes, I apologize if you covered this. The TIF funding is listed as a bridge loan. Do I understand that correctly then? This is just a bridge loan?
Yes, so it would be a bridge loan in the sense that as the TIF funds would not be paid until construction is complete, the developer would have to bridge those TIF funds until or throughout construction.
Oh, I see. I got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any further questions of commissioners?
See if that makes sense. So
if not, are there members of the public who would like to speak to this agenda item? Seeing none, If there are no further comments or questions, I will now call this item for a vote. The resolution before us recommends CDC approval of the Department of Planning and Development's request to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with Timeline Theater Company for redevelopment of the property located at 5033 to 35 North Broadway Avenue in the Lawrence Broadway Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project Area, and to recommend to the City Council of the City of Chicago the designation of Timeline Theater Company as the developer. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
So moved, Commissioner. Go ahead, Commissioner Rhodes.
I'm sorry, I did not hear you.
Commissioner Rhodes moved and Commissioner Wheat seconded.
Okay, thank you. As required, I will now call the roll on this item. Secretary Wheat,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks, Commissioner Buford,
Yes.
Commissioner Cepeda, Commissioner Chen McKibben, Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis, Commissioner Gomez,
Yes.
Commissioner Griggs, Commissioner Rhodes,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Trevino, White, Commissioner Newsom votes yes, and Commissioner Butler abstains. The vote is in favor and the motion passes. Thank you to all. For our fourth item of new business, the Department of Planning and Development is requesting authority to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with the Institute of Cultural Affairs for rehabilitation of the property located at 4750 North Sheridan Road in the Lawrence Broadway Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project Area, and to recommend to the City Council of the City of Chicago the designation of Institute of Cultural Affairs as developer. Mr. William Grams will present the staff report on behalf of the Department of Planning and Development. And William, you may begin your presentation when you are ready. William?
Yeah, sorry, I'm getting off mute, putting it back on.
Thank you.
All right, is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you, Chair Newsom and members of the commission. For the record, my name is William Grams with the Department of Planning and Development. With me today, I have Terrence Johnson and Tim Jeffries from DPD, and Leslie Showers and Urban Henderson from the developer team. The resolution before you requests a recommendation to the City Council to designate the Institute of Cultural Affairs as the developer for the rehabilitation of the ICA Green Rise building. It also requests authority for the Department of Planning and Development to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with the developer. The ICA Green Rise building is located at 4750 North Sheridan Road, which is in the Uptown Community Area, the Lawrence Broadway TIF District in the North Planning Region. The alderman is James Kappelman. This TIF district was established in 2001 with one of its purposes being to promote the preservation of the historic and architecturally significant character of the project area. The ICA Green Rise building was originally constructed as a 4-story building in 1921 by Fugard and Knapp for the Kemper Insurance Company. It was constructed in the Chicago school building style using classical revivalist architecture. In 1927, 4 additional stories using the same style were added to the building by B. Leo Steiffen Company. In 2013, the building was designated as a Chicago landmark. The project before you today
will replace many of the systems in this 100-year-old building that have outlived their useful lives. Additionally, the elevator lobbies will be refurbished as well as finishes on the first floor and upper floors. Finally, common area space on the first floor will be converted into new tenant spaces. The total project cost is $20.7 million and the TIF request is for $2 million. The estimated timeline to complete is 12 months and the building will remain operational throughout the construction. Looking more closely, the scope of work includes replacement of HVAC, plumbing, and mechanical systems, building envelope repairs, window replacement, metal door and frame replacement, mechanical louver replacement, historic masonry restoration, historic lobby restoration, creation of an atrium and additional tenant space on the first floor, and stair refurbishment. Here's an overhead view of the neighborhood. The project site is located at 4750 North Sheridan Road, roughly 3 blocks from the Lawrence Red Line CTA station. The building is also accessible via the number 81 Lawrence bus and the number 151 Sheridan bus. Here is an aerial view of the building looking to the south. Again, here's the current condition of the building. The Institute of Cultural Affairs, which is the owner and operator of the building, will be the developer for the project. The building was donated in 1971 after the Kemper Insurance Company relocated to the suburbs. The building currently houses the Green Rise Uptown Learning Laboratory, which is the largest social service center in the Midwest and serves more than 1,000 clients weekly. Building tenants include Heartland Health, Sarah's Circle, the Great Lakes Credit Union, several religious service groups, and 2 intentional residential communities, among several others. The total project cost is $20.7 million and will be financed with a mix of equity, debt, historic tax credits, new markets tax credits, and TIF. The city through DPD intends to provide the developer with TIF assistance in an amount not to exceed $2 million. The city funds will be provided from the Lawrence Broadway TIF district's area-wide increment and will be paid out upon the issuance of the certificate of completion. To summarize the benefits, this project will rehab a 100-year-old historic landmark building, preserving it for generations to come. The building will continue to be able to serve low-income and vulnerable populations by providing critical social services. The project will preserve 250 current jobs, create 111 new full-time jobs, and create 157 temporary construction jobs. Alderman Kappelman endorses the project and has provided a letter of support. DPD has thoroughly reviewed the proposed project, the qualifications of the development team, and the need for public assistance. DPD recommends that the Community Development Commission approve the designation of the Institute of Cultural Affairs as developer for 4750 North Sheridan Road so that the project can advance to City Council. That concludes my presentation and I can take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Is anyone from Alderman Kappelman's office present? If not, then I will entertain questions from commissioners. Commissioners, do you have any questions of staff with regard to this project?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Wheat.
Commissioner Wheat?
Could either staff or the developer or someone representing the institution talk a little more about the stack? So I guess 2 questions. One is the status of the new market and historic tax credits that are associated with the project. There's about $10 million of those. And then secondly, the debt associated with the project seems in all due respect relatively substantial for a nonprofit. So 5.7 million, it's over a quarter of the debt of the stack essentially. So I'm also happy to be wrong there, but just talk about kind of the nature of the of the organization, the ability to actually service the debt associated with that.
Mr. Graham?
So everyone can get one.
Leslie and Irv, would you like to speak to that?
Good afternoon. I will certainly be glad to speak to it. I wanted to make
State your
sure.
name for the record, please.
Yeah, my name is Irvin Henderson. I'm the president of Henderson and Company. We are the owner's rep. I just wanted to make sure that Leslie Showers, the current executive director, I'm glad to follow her statement. Wanted to make sure that I gave her the opportunity to speak first.
Ms. Showers? Is she on the line?
You know, she's definitely here. She may be having some technical difficulties. So in the interest of the commissioner's valuable time, I'm glad to march right ahead.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. As Commissioner Wheat mentioned, this does have new markets, it does have historic tax credits, and it does have some debt. I'll take the last question first. Obviously, the Green Rise is what we call a development under operation. So all of the tenants will continue to pay rent. And of course, the current rent roll is sufficient to service the debt. And so there is no concern there. And also it's very important to understand that the history of the ICA Green Rise has been one of having good vacancy rates. And therefore typically occupancy is greater than 90%. Now, as to the new markets and the historic, U.S. Bank is the investor, and we will obviously be using some bridge lending. In fact, there will be bridge lending involved with the Tiff grant itself. And we do have good relationships with PNC and others for the bridge lending. And I'm actually with the U.S. Bank investor at this moment in Miami at the Con Resnick New Market Tax Credit Summit. And Jennifer Westerbeck is the representative of U.S. Bank. We're very fortunate to have the support for new markets and historic, and we're very fortunate to have the support of the city with the meeting that we're having now.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Wheat, does that answer your question or concern?
No, that was helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any additional questions by commissioners? If not, do we have members?
Madam Chair, I think
sorry.
Commissioner Curtis may have his hand up.
Commissioner
Yes,
Curtis?
thank you. I was just surprised that the soft costs are approximately 50% of the hard costs. Can somebody give us a little bit of an idea as to why the soft costs are so high?
Once again, I'm glad to speak to that, Commissioner. With any new markets tax credit project, you have the reserves for the project as part of your soft cost. That's $800 and some odd thousand. You also have a very high transaction cost, which includes both attorneys and accountants. That number is over 600,000. And then you of course have the reimbursement of the overhead costs for the nonprofit, and you have a developer fee that the nonprofit is being awarded. All of those things make the soft cost higher than they would be for a traditional project. And with this kind of capital stack, there is also a long period of time for assembling the funds, which makes overhead and soft costs higher.
Does that answer your question, Commissioner?
I guess I'm still uncomfortable with the extent of it. I heard attorney's fees. I heard specific accounting for about $1.5 million or less of the 6.5 attorney's fees and some overhead costs. Again, it just seems extremely high. Thank you.
Well, as I mentioned, Commissioner, you also have reserves So you have the CDE reserves and you have an operating reserve. And so those are part of the soft cost as well.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And this is Terrence Johnson with DPD, Assistant Commissioner as well. And I, as sitting on the board of CDF, the city's CDE, I can attest that generally when you have a new markets tax credit transaction, those soft costs are generally higher because you do have all those fees that Herb mentioned rolled into the structure as well. And they're a lot more complicated, so they do require a lot more legal fees and structuring that goes on with that. So
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Commissioner Curtis, are you,
That, thank you. That's good enough. Thank
that
you.
will do it for you? Okay. Are there any additional questions of commissioners? If not, I will ask, do we have any members of the public that would like to speak to this agenda item? If so, if you'll raise your hand. No members of the public?
No hands raised, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Kamal. If there are no further questions or comments, we will now call the item to a vote. The resolution before us requests the CDC's approval of the Department of Planning and Development's request to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with the Institute of Cultural Affairs for the rehabilitation of the property located at 4750 North Sheridan Road in the Lawrence Broadway Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, and to recommend to the City Council of the City of Chicago the designation of Institute of Cultural Affairs as developer. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
What's that,
Sorry,
Commissioner?
Sorry, Chris.
Commissioner Rhodes?
I think I saw Commissioner Rhodes and Commissioner Cox come off mute, so.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Cox. And a
So moved.
second? I'm sorry, I'm having difficulty hearing.
Yeah. No, Commissioner Cox moved the motion.
Okay, we have a second?
Second, Commissioner Weed.
Okay. At this time, as is required, I will call the roll on this matter. Secretary Wheat,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks, Commissioner Buford,
Yes.
Commissioner Cepeda, Commissioner Chan McKibben, Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, Commissioner Curtis abstains. Commissioner Davis, Commissioner Gomez,
Yes.
Commissioner Griggs, Commissioner Rhodes,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas,
yes,
Commissioner Trevino, Commissioner Newsom votes yes. Commissioner Butler abstains. The vote is in favor with 2 abstentions. The motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All righty. Our next item, actually our final item, the Department of Planning and Development and the Department of Housing are seeking authority for several land sale transactions in the 79th Street Corridor Tiff, including the designation of Evergreen Imagine JV LLC as the sole respondent to an RFP previously issued by the Planning Department in August of 2020, and more recent interest in those properties and other city-owned properties located in the same TIF. Patrick Brutus and Kara Breams will provide the staff report describing the requested authorities in more detail. Patrick Brutus will present the staff report and a presentation on behalf of the Department of Planning and Development, while Kara Breams will represent the Department of Housing for any housing-related questions. So Patrick and Kara, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Can you all hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
I can.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good afternoon, Madam Vice Chairman and members of the
Good afternoon.
commission.
Mhm.
For the record, my name is Patrick Brutus, neighborhood planner in the Southeast Planning Region for the Department of Planning and Development. I am joined by my colleagues, Kara Breams and Edward Solis Pablo, who both serve as financial planning analysts for the city, and members of the development team who are the successful respondent to the RFP. As this particular project is slightly complicated, there are two components to the actions the department is seeking, and as such, we have a comprehensive and yet multiple resolutions that identify both aspects of this project before you, recommending that the Community Development Commission approve the following for the original RFP issued for 6 city-owned vacant parcels released on August 24th, 2020. And secondly, for a negotiated sale of land at 757 West 79th Street, which is being added as a development site to this project. The resolution, the actions that we're seeking are as follows. 1, designate Evergreen Imagine JV LLC as the successful respondent to the request for proposals for the purchase and redevelopment of the property located at 838 to 858 West 79th Street within the 79th Street Corridor Redevelopment Project area. 2, authorize the department to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with Evergreen Imagine. 3, recommend to the City Council the designation of Evergreen Imagine as the developer. And that's for the first site. The second site, which is 757 West 79th Street, we are seeking the authority to authorize the department to advertise our intention to enter into a negotiated sale with Evergreen Imagine for the disposition of the property located at 757 West 79th Street in the 79th Street Corridor Redevelopment Project area. 5, authorize the department to request alternative proposals and approve the sale of property if no responsive alternative proposals are received. Number 6, request authority for DPD to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with Evergreen Imagine for the property at 757 West 79th Street. And finally, recommend to the City Council to designate Evergreen Imagine as the developer if no responsive alternative proposals are received. The subject parcels are all located in the 17th Ward and in the Auburn Gresham community area. Furthermore, the site at 838 West 79th Street is located in an appropriately zoned B12 for neighborhood shopping district and also lies within the boundaries of the 79th Street Corridor Tiff. The agenda items before you today represent the department's commitment to the implementation of Mayor Lightfoot's Invest Southwest initiative. Prior to my presentation on the Auburn Gresham RFP, I would like to share some background on the department's progress related to Invest Southwest. As we are very excited to realize the Invest Southwest program, and the department is excited to be taking this particular step towards transformational reinvestment on the city's south and west sides. The Invest Southwest initiative, as laid out by Mayor Lightfoot, will marshal the resources of multiple city departments, community organizations, and corporate partners toward the revitalization of 12 commercial corridors located across 10 community areas on Chicago's south and west sides. The focus of this initiative is the reactivation of neighborhood cores that have historically served as hubs for pedestrian activity, shopping, services, transportation, public spaces, and quality of life amenities for residents. The first successful respondent to one of the department's round 1 request for proposals was developed as part of the Invest Southwest initiative. The goal of these RFPs is to solicit development proposals for key opportunity sites within Invest Southwest corridors. While traditional RFPs contain baseline information related to the subject property, including property size, zoning, and appraised value, the Invest Southwest RFPs go one step further to illustrate potential site uses and urban design desired by both the department and the community. The additional detail provided on the projected development program also assists in the department's understanding of available financial incentives. Market analyses undertaken in each corridor help shape the development concepts and in turn determined the anticipated level of required city financial support. In short, we are looking at existing anchors to build off of, synergize our investments, and deliver transformative development that has a catalytic impact in the communities. This more detailed approach to RFP development reduces uncertainty for developers and community members, and the department is confident that these RFPs will result in high-quality development proposals. From August 2020 through summer of 2021, the department issued 11 RFPs in 9 of the 10 Invest Southwest neighborhoods, and of those 11 RFPs, 10 were aimed at development opportunities within 9 of the 12 commercial corridors. The initial RFP before you today and the process employed to develop them will serve as the template for future Invest Southwest RFPs and the results. The projected schedule for the full slate of RFPs anticipated a staggered approach to release and included time for proposal development, evaluation, negotiations, legislative approvals, and construction. The result is Invest Southwest related construction will take place across all corridors during the fall and winter of this year, as well as in 2023. All right, the proposed Auburn Gresham apartments will be developed on city land and privately owned land. To give proper context to this proposal, the city land in red makes up the greater part of the development project area and is located at 838 West 79th Street. The private lots in blue are located at 834 West 79th Street, make up 2 parcels, which the developer has a letter of intent to purchase from a single owner. The Auburn Gresham Apartments project was first conceptualized as a 1-building site in response to the RFP. However, after a lot of input and feedback from the community, the project evolved to its current 2-site project design. I'm trying to let the slides catch up. After months of working with the residents, stakeholders, and Alderman's office, this current 2-site concept has been well received and approved by the community through our community roundtable platform. The project now calls for 28 units in building number 1 at the original site and 30 units at the added site at 757 West 79th Street, which is site number 2. Both buildings have a significant amount of ground floor commercial space, which will offer retail destinations and create jobs. All units will be affordable, as well as provide parking in the buildings. Since the proposed Auburn Gresham apartments and all of the 58 units will be constructed on these sites, the city land is critical to the overall development. The RFP site, which is site 1, was acquired by the city via direct acquisition and lien foreclosure. The site has been vacant for approximately 23 years. The second subject site at 757 was acquired by the city of Chicago in 2000 from the Nation of Islam, and emergency demolition of a prior building took place in February of 2012. This site has been vacant approximately 10 years. Also required for this mixed-use development are various sources of equity and public financing. I will review the financing structure later, but because the project will receive city financial assistance in the form of tax increment financing, it is the intention of the city to enter into a negotiated sale with the development team and negotiate a redevelopment agreement. Evergreen JV LLC is an Illinois limited liability company, and they will be the developer for this project. Evergreen Redevelopment LLC and Imagine Development Group LLC each hold 50% ownership in the joint venture. Evergreen Real Estate Group, the public-facing name of the Evergreen business lines, was founded in 1999 and develops, acquires, and manages affordable and market rate family communities across 10 states, including Illinois. Evergreen owns and manages more than 10,000 units of multifamily housing, including Independence Library Housing, Sangamon Terrace, and also apartments that are in Chicago. Imagine Group is a minority-owned and certified real estate development firm with experience in market rate, mixed income, and affordable housing. Imagine has developed 72 multifamily units, including the Clio Art Residences in Chicago, a mixed income development with 58 units in Washington Park. I must mention that the Evergreen Real Estate Group is led by David Block, who is the lead principal at that company, and Imagine Group, the minority-owned firm, is led by Tori Barrett and Fred Spencer. Prior to closing, Evergreen Imagine JV LLC and the syndicator investor will form Auburn Gresham Apartments LP, an Illinois limited partnership. In the Auburn Gresham Apartments project, the residential unit profile is as follows. There will be 58 total units of housing, which are all affordable at 60% of the area mean income. A detailed summary of that profile has been included in your staff report. Auburn Gresham Apartments, which is expected to begin construction later this year and completed by 2023, has a projected budget of $39,982,406. The development will be funded with various sources of equity and public financing. The first projected source of city financing will be the issuance of approximately $17,101,280 of low-income housing tax credits. This represents 43% of the total project cost. DPD is also proposing to include TIF assistance in the amount of up to $15 million. This represents 38% of the total project costs. The final source of city assistance will be a land write-down to $1 per parcel on land valued at $184,000. Other sources include $1,030,000 in financing from a permanent first mortgage, $3 million in anticipated funding from the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity from the state of Illinois, and others as shown on the screen. The city of Chicago is strongly committed to the revitalization of this community area and has done so by providing significant public assistance in either conveyance of land for affordable housing developments, financial assistance for projects, or by partnering with our delegate agencies and community groups in support of goals and objectives that are consistent with the LIST Quality of Life Plan, the Invest Southwest Initiative, and or the 79th Street Corridor TIF Redevelopment Project Area Plan. The goals that DPD are seeking for this project and continue to seek in others in this community area are eliminate the blighting conditions that exist throughout the redevelopment project area, encourage the assembly of land into parcels functionally adaptable, provide sound economic development in the redevelopment project area, enhance the tax base of the city of Chicago, achieve design excellence in buildings that increase the density and pedestrian experience in areas where we can create walkable corridors, and create and foster equitable transit-oriented development when and where appropriate. The target price of the RFP site at 838 West 79th Street is $6. The fair market value supported by an appraisal ordered by the department and dated June 8, 2020 is $69,000. The target price translates roughly to $3 per square foot. The target price of the second project site at 757 West 79th Street is $1. The fair market value supported by an appraisal ordered by the development team and dated August 25th, 2021 is $115,000, roughly translating to $8.83 per square foot. Upon CDC approval, the department would issue a public notice advertising the department's intention to enter into a negotiated sale for $1 for the single city-owned vacant parcel at site number 2, which is 757 West 79th Street, to construct a 30-unit mixed-use building. The public notice will be listed in the Chicago Tribune and would invite alternative proposals. Finally, David Moore, Alderman of the 17th Ward, who has also provided a letter of support, is here, I believe, or at least his chief of staff is representing the office, and upon CDC approval, will testify of their support on this project. Final recommendation. The Department of Community and the Department of Planning and Development has thoroughly reviewed the proposed project, the qualifications of the development team, the financial structure of this project, its public benefits, and the project's conformance with the redevelopment area plan. And the Department of Planning and Development recommends that the CDC approve the designation of Evergreen Imagine JV LLC as developer and all associated recitals in the resolution for the sale of 6 city-owned vacant parcels as represented in this project as Site 1 for construction of a 28-unit mixed-use building at 858 West 79th Street, and authorize the Department of Planning and Development to issue a public notice requesting alternative proposals and all associated recitals in the resolution for the Site 2 location at 757 West 79th Street of the single city parcel for construction of a 30-unit mixed-use building. The Department of Planning and Development respectfully requests your approval of this resolution. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. At this point, my presentation is concluded, and I'm happy, myself or the project team or the development team, we're here and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brutus. At this time, what I'd like to do is ask if Alderman Moore or his representative would like to address this project before we begin questions.
Yes, ma'am. How are you? My name is Sean Flynn. I am the Chief of Staff for Alderman Moore here in the 17th Ward. The Alderman unfortunately was not able to make it, but he definitely sends his regards. And he wanted me to express that definitely he is in support of these projects. The community was very much involved. There was a lot of emails, a lot of meetings. I'm sure as David and Patrick knows, there was a lot of back and forth. But the community was definitely involved in this process, and definitely the Alderman feels like it was that involvement, that community involvement, that brought such a great development to the ward. So he's definitely in full support and pleased with everything that's happened, and he's thanking everybody for their support and involvement.
Thank you, and thank the Alderman. All right, commissioners, do we have questions for Mr. Brutus or Ms. Carol Reams, please? I don't see any hands. If not, I will ask at this time.
Oh, Madam Chair.
I'm sorry.
I think Commissioner
apologize.
Gomez just raised her hand.
Yes, I apologize for the late. I was looking for the button.
Okay.
If I just may ask about the workforce, what are the plans for the workforce from the community? Just building that pipeline.
Great question, Commissioner Gomez. Before I pass that question on to members of the development team, I will inform you and share with you that throughout the community engagement process over the last better part of the year, the developers who are securing letters of interest for, from interested parties to rent the commercial spaces have pledged to do a best effort to provide real opportunities for employment to neighborhood residents who are willing and ready to work in some of these retail outlets that will be at both buildings. There has been significant conversation between some of the development team members and members of the community. I'll let them speak to that. But there has been a significant outreach effort to, one, interest folks in the community about some of these opportunities that will be made available, as well as skill set matching in regards to what some of those actual sales and or food related type jobs are. But for more on that, I believe Tori Barrett from Imagine Group is here. Dave Block is here from the development team as well.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. I would like to hear more specifically from the very beginning to the end. I know the first part, construction, would be temporary jobs, but then permanent jobs would be helpful to hear about that too. Thank you.
All righty. Are there other questions?
Well,
Oh, no,
we need to hear from development team. I don't know if they've been elevated to panelists so they can actually chime in on the record.
So I'm here but maybe Tori should go first if Tori is on.
All right.
Yes, I'm on. And was the question about permanent jobs? I apologize.
Well, it was both, right? What are we doing to ensure that there's inclusion from the community on jobs in general, and what type of workforce development, if anything, opportunities are we doing for them? So yes, the temporary and then the long-term permanent jobs, please.
Sure. On the temporary side, we've been looking at several contractors for this particular development. The one contractor that responded with us was GMA Construction, and GMA has a history of including Section 3. They're a Section 3 company, but they also have a history of including a lot of local residents, and that's one of the reasons that we chose them as part of the development team. And so on the construction jobs, there will be several local hires that come through that. For the actual permanent jobs, I currently own and operate 2 restaurants in the Chicago area, one of them being the Park Supper Club. And we hire directly from the community for those. And so we'll be looking for folks in the community to hire for those permanent jobs as well as the leasing and management of the building itself. We had several prospective people identified through the community engagement process that we underwent. I am in constant communication with those individuals. Several of them are scheduled to tour some of the developments that we have going on right now. And so for now, that is the plan. I don't know, David, if you have anything you want to add to it.
No, I think the only thing it's worth noting is that, following the Department of Housing requirements, we did reach out and asked a number of construction companies to bid on this. And so 3 of the 4 firms that we asked to bid on the construction documents were minority-owned firms. And it's an interesting construction environment we're in right now. Everybody's busy. Everybody is challenged by supply chain and labor shortage issues. We did, as Tori noted, we did receive a strong response from GMA Construction, and we're hoping we'll get at least 1 or 2 others in this bid process as well. So I don't know if Ms. Gomez, if that answers your questions or if you have others.
No, I think it's just more of ensuring that it sounds like you guys have been thoughtful about it and just want to make sure that that continues throughout. So thank you.
Okay. Are there any additional questions from the commissioners? with regard to this project? I see Commissioner Cox's hand.
Yes, thank you. Madam Chairman, it's not really a question, as we've in the planning department have lived with this project for months and months now, and are just thrilled to see it get to this point and in the shape and the form that we're receiving it. I did want to underscore Mr. Brutus's comments that if ever there was a development process shaped and formed by the community's input, the Auburn Gresham development project is one. As it was described, it was thought to be a single site with a certain height and bulk and unit number, and community really willed it into something that they thought was more appropriately scaled for their neighborhood, and maybe unbeknownst to them, created a kind of development stepping stone. So not only occupying the space in front of the Healthy Hub, but also occupying the 100% corner of 79th and Halsted. So these projects will form almost a stepping stone to the Metro station investment. So this is really what a clustered development looks like. And I think in many ways, the community can take some credit for having pushed the development team in that direction. I also would just like to commend the joint venture development team, Evergreen and Imagine. This new joint venture, they truly stuck it out with this community. They were always very attentive and mindful that people were pushing back out of love of their community, and they stuck with them. And I think the results speak for themselves. I think these are beautiful buildings. They're resilient. They're appropriately scaled, and I think they will signal the inclusive nature of Auburn Gresham, more housing options, but I think it will probably signal to other investors that this is a place to invest in. And so just again, thank the development team for their stick-to-itiveness. And then lastly, Patrick Brutus, as you can tell from the masterful presentation he gave, he is on top of it and really has represented the planning department well, and he is equally responsible for getting us to this moment. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox. Are there additional questions from any of the other commissioners? If not, I will go back to what was going to be my initial statement. Patrick, was Kara going to make any kind of comment, or did she wish to say anything with regard to this project today?
Yeah, Vice Chairman, Kara Breams, my colleague from the Department of Housing, is here. So is Edward Police. However, if there are no questions on the project's financing, then the staff report has all the information for the commissioners to review.
Very good. We just did not want to overlook any of the staff members who were present today. Thank you.
Understood.
Are there any questions from the public at this time with regard to the project? Kamal, do we have any hands? I see Norma Sanders.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon. This is not a question. I wanted to say, as the Special Initiatives Director in Auburn Gresham and the newly appointed Invest Southwest Corridor Manager, that we support this project.
Wonderful. Thank you. Are there any additional members of the public that would like to address this project?
Chairwoman, there are no hands raised.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, let me just say on behalf of Evergreen and Mr. David Block, I've had the good fortune of having worked with he and his team before, and they are wonderful folk to work with and very accommodating. And with regard to Mr. Torrey Barrett, I am familiar with him and his projects, with regard to his hiring from the community. I have had several occasions to dine at the Park Supper Club, and the staff there is outstanding. Did a very good job of training, and I really appreciate the service that they render to the public with a smile. So please relay that to your staff members.
I will. Thank you, Ms. Newsom.
Okay, if there are no further questions from the public or the commissioners, then I will call this item for a vote. And I will succinctly state the vote as follows. Commissioners, the matter before us requests the CDC's approval for the Department of Planning and Development and the city's Department of Housing to designate and enter into a sale and redevelopment agreement with Evergreen Imagine JV LLC and to designate Evergreen Imagine JV LLC as the sole respondent to an RFP issued by DPD on August 24, 2020. Specifically, DPD is also seeking authority to negotiate and enter into a sale and redevelopment agreement with Evergreen Imagine JV LLC. Do I have a motion?
So moved by Commissioner Cox.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second,
And that was Commissioner
Gomez.
Gomez, thank you. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, all votes are to be conducted by roll call so that each member's vote on each issue can be identified and recorded. Commissioners, if you were not present at the April 5th meeting, please indicate that you abstain on this motion when your name is called. At this time, Secretary Wheat,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks, Commissioner Buford,
Yes.
Commissioner Cepeda, Commissioner Chan McKibben, Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis,
Abstain.
Commissioner Davis, Commissioner Gomez,
Yes.
Commissioner Griggs, Commissioner Rhodes,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas, Commissioner Thomas, okay. Commissioner Trevino, Vice Chair Newsom votes yes. Commissioner Butler abstains. The motion passes with a majority vote and 3 abstentions.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, for your time today, staff and commissioners, for your contributions. And at this time, I would like to request a motion to adjourn. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Commissioner Wheat.
Commissioner Wheat, was that you?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second, Gomez.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Are there any opposers? If not, the motion is approved. The yeas have it. I thank you all, and this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Commissioner.
Kamal.